Welcome back, students. In lesson number 2 you are going to learn reproduction in lower and higher animals, right? So we start with lesson number 2, another important lesson in the series, correct? So let us talk about what is reproduction first. We have already learned what is reproduction. Let us revise, right? What is reproduction? It is a major life process of any living organisms. No matter which living organism you are talking about, it is a major life process in the life of that living organism. It helps in maintaining continuity of species. The species will continue to live on the planet Earth till the time it can reproduce, right? The species will always live till it will keep on reproducing. Then new life is formed from the pre-existing one, that is whichever animal exists, it gives birth to a new life similar to itself, and so a new life is formed from the pre-existing form. That means you need to have a pre-existing form in order to have a new life coming to the world. Now it is a vital process and enables the species to survive, right? It is one of the most important process in the life of a living organism because it enables the species to survive, correct? Even if the parents die off, the species will continue to live on the planet Earth in the form of their offsprings or their young ones. So children, students, we are going to learn in this chapter. Let us see a view of what we are going to learn in this chapter. We are going to learn sexual reproduction in short. Then you are going to learn about male and female reproductive organs, right? Gametogenesis, fertilization, early embryo and parturition plus reproductive health. Students, we start with asexual reproduction in animals and let's take a short account of it, right? What is asexual reproduction then? It's formation of progeny from a single parent. I highlighted formation of progeny, that is when a young one is formed, right? And when a single parent gives birth to it, it is called as asexual reproduction. It does not involve both sexes. That means a male and female is not required, right? Daughter cells are genetically identical to the parent that is giving birth. So the young ones that are born are called as daughter cells, and those are identical to the parent which is giving birth to them, and so those daughter cells are called as clones, correct? In lower organisms you find the reproduction or asexual reproduction in two forms. One is by gemule formation, where gemule is formed, and the second is budding. Now let us talk about gemule formation, right? And you normally see it in coelentrates, that is the corals and the sponges and some ascidians, right? These are the animals in which you find gemule formation, right? Now what is a gemule, right? The internal buds in a sponge, right? Sponge is a sponge-like animal which is found in water. It is an aquatic animal. It looks like a sponge, right? And these sponges, right, when there is unfavorable conditions, when food and water availability is not there, what happens is they have the internal buds, right? Inside their body they have internal buds. That internal buds multiply rapidly to form a bunch of archaeocytes, right? So that bud has multiplied and a number of archaeocytes are formed, right? These archaeocytes are covered with a layer of monoaxon spicules, correct? You can see a capsule which is covering the archaeocytes. This capsule, right, is a gemule, right? Why is it necessary? It will protect the archaeocytes or the future offsprings in that unfavorable condition. So the archaeocytes are well covered in the amoebocytes are well covered inside a gemule. The gemule covering is having monoaxonic spicules, and inside the inner membrane you will find the archaeocytes. whenever favorable conditions will come, that is availability of food and water will be there, this gemmule will hatch or it will break open to release those archaeocytes, and every archaeocyte is capable of giving rise to a new organisms. Now let us talk about budding. Budding is found again in insulintrate, which is Hydra. Correct? You must have learnt about this in lower classes, right? And Hydra, which is again an aquatic animal, right? You see that the Hydra, the basal end of the Hydra, asexually, when asexual reproduction takes place, it gives out a small outgrowth which is called as the bud. The bud gradually grows in size. It is totally dependent on the parent for its food and nutrition. It grows to its full form, and when it is capable of living independently, it detaches from the parent and it falls to the ground. Now you can see the parent and the young one which are independent now. Correct? The next part is regeneration. You must have seen regeneration in so many living organisms in around you. Bacteria regenerate by multiplying, right? They multiply themselves and thus they regenerate. The lizard, wall lizard in your house regenerates its tail. Even animals like planaria, correct? If they lose certain part of their body, they will regenerate it. But planaria has one more speciality to it, right? If the planaria or that flatworm gets fragmented, if it gets fragmented or if it breaks into pieces, every piece is capable of developing into a new individual. So this is in short the asexual reproduction in animals. Students, we start with sexual reproduction, and sexual reproduction in other words means amphimixis. Amphimixis means, amphi means two and mixing means fusion. Fusion of two gametes is called as amphimixis. So naturally sexual reproduction means production of offspring by fusion of two gametes. One has to be a male gamete and the second has to be a female gamete. Right? Now let us talk about the growth in sexually reproducing organisms. All the sexually reproducing organisms go through two phases of growth. The first phase is called as juvenile phase, right? Juvenile phase is the physical growth phase where the individual grows physically and becomes mature, right? For example, from the time period is from the birth till they are capable of reproduction. Till they do not reproduce, that time period is called as juvenile phase, whereas as soon as they have their sexual maturity, that means when their sexual organs are mature enough to have gametogenesis taking place inside them, then the individual enters into the reproductive or maturity phase of the life. Correct? Now I highlighted here, right? So both these phases vary in different animals. Now which are the events that take place in sexual maturity? Right? Sexual maturity marks three main events. That is pre-fertilization, right? A phase which is pre-fertilization where the gametogenesis, that is formation of gametes, will take place and transfer of gametes will take place from a male to a female. Correct? Then fertilization will take place, that is fusion of male and female gamete, and post-fertilization events will be formation of zygote, and after formation of zygote there will be embryogenesis, that is formation of embryo. Now let us talk about breeding patterns. The animals have a specific breeding behavior or they follow a particular breeding pattern. Some animals are seasonal breeders. They breed only in a particular season. On the coming of that particular season, that animal will breed. For example, goat, sheep or donkeys are seasonal breeders. They will breed only in a particular season. Whereas there are continuous breeders like humans where they breed throughout the year. So we learned about sexual reproduction, the growth phases, the events in sexual maturity and breeding patterns. Students, humans show sexual dimorphism. Now this is an important word and I need to elaborate it. Correct? Sexual dimorphism means what? Right? The male and a female in sexually reproducing organism are different. You can easily identify that this is a male animal and that is a female animal. So a male showing some characters, physical characters different than the female is called as sexual dimorphism, right? So this sexual dimorphism is due to secondary sexual characters, right? Sexual dimorphism is because of secondary sexual characters. How do you identify a male, right? The male, the secondary sexual characters will be, it has a beard, right? He will have a mustache, right? Hairs on the chest, muscular body, right? Then enlarged larynx, that is Adam's apple, as you can say. Correct? They have or they show up enlarged larynx on this particular side. When you talk about female, they have well developed breast, they have broader pelvics, and the pitch of the voice is high, right? Now let us talk about primary sex organs in the sexually reproducing organisms. The males have testes as their primary sexual reproducing organ, and it produces sperms by the process of spermatogenesis, whereas the females, right, the primary sexual organs are the ovaries and they will produce eggs or ovum by the process of gametogenesis. Students, we start with male reproductive system, and in this male reproductive system we are going to study what are the parts of the male reproductive system, and let us talk about it in a little bit detail. In 10th standard you have learned that the male reproductive system consists of a pair of testes, a pair of ducts called as vas deferens, then there is a pair of gland called as seminal vesicles, another gland called prostate gland, another pair of glands that is Cowper's glands. It has ejaculatory duct, urethra, and a urinogenital tube, correct, which passes through the penis, right? So this is in all an account of what the male reproductive system consists about. Now let us talk about the males when they are still in the mother's womb, right? When they are in the mother's womb, right, the testes are inside the abdominal cavity. Slowly as the fetus or the baby grows, the testes from the abdominal cavity descend down into the scrotal sac, which is present outside the abdominal cavity, and they go down through a canal which is called as inguinal canal, and they are descended down by a spermatic cord, correct? So now what is the scrotum? Scrotum is a pigmented bag which lies outside the abdominal cavity, and it houses the testes. If you look inside the scrotum, it is a pigmented brown color pigmented bag, inside which it is divided into two lobes, that is the right and the left lobe, and the partition is because of the thin muscular partition is there, which is called as dartus tunica. It divides the scrotal bag which is present behind the penis into two parts, into two lobes, each lobe having a single testis, right? Now let us talk about the penis. Penis is present right in front of the scrotal sac. Penis is made up of three types of erectile tissues. These erectile tissues make the penis erect during the process of sexual intercourse. And let us talk about the muscles. The posterior lateral side muscles, that is the muscles present on either side of the penis, are called as corpora carnivosa, right? In the middle there is another muscular tissue, and that is called as corpus spongium, and at the end the penis is having a enlarged face which is called as glans penis, right? If you look inside the penis, there is the urinogenital tract where urine passes during urination, and the semen will pass during the sexual intercourse. Let us talk about the testes. The testes are attached to their scrotal bag by a muscular connection that is called as gubernaculus, correct? Now let me talk about one more thing. If the testes do not descend down, if the testes stay inside the abdominal cavity, the person will be sterile or the male will be sterile, and that condition is called as cryptorchidism. Correct? So now let us talk about testes. Inside the testes you will have, you can see coiled tubes, and those are seminiferous tubules. Right? These seminiferous tubules are the tubules inside which the sperms are formed. This seminiferous tubule help in the production of gametogenesis, that is sperm formation. The sperms thus formed are collected by rete testes. Rete testes, the sperms enter into the vas efferens, and from vas efferens the sperms will enter into the long 6-meter long tube called as epididymis. Right? From epididymis the sperms will, with the secretions of the epididymis, will enter into the abdominal cavity through the vas deferens. As and how it goes to the vas deferens, right, it is added with seminal fluid to it, and through this ejaculatory duct, the common duct that takes the secretions of the semen or the sperms and the secretions of seminal vesicle, this particular part is called as ejaculatory duct. As the secretions pass, right, they get added up with the secretions of prostaglands, right, through the urethra, and as and how the secretions or the semen passes through the urethra or through the urinogenital tract, it gets added with certain secretions by the Cowper's gland, and the secretions of the seminal vesicles, the prostaglands, the Cowper's glands, and the sperms with the secretions of epididymis together form the semen. The semen will follow the same urinogenital tract, right, and will be ejected out through the penis into the vagina of the female. Now let us talk about how the testes look from within. Let us talk about TS of testes. Now this is an TS of testes. If you talk about TS of testes, the outermost layer is called as tunica vaginalis, and it is the innermost wall of body wall of your body, right? It is an incomplete covering which covers the testes from outside. Inside that tunica vaginalis, you have another layer which covers the testes. It is called as tunica albuginea, and this layer, the fibers of this layer come inside the testes to divide the testes into different lobes, right? Inside this tunica albuginea, you have one more layer called as tunica vascularis, which is a rich layer of vascular or blood vessels, which is necessary for providing nutrition to the inside tissue of the testes, right? So now let us talk about what we see inside the TS of testes. These are the seminiferous tubules, correct? You can see seminiferous tubules here, and in between the seminiferous tubules you find a group of cells, and those group of cells are called as interstitial cells, or they are also called as Leydig cells, and the work of the cells is to produce the hormone, that is testosterone. Now this hormone is responsible for secondary sexual characters in male, as well as the descendants of the testes down into the scrotum, right? The testosterone triggers the process of the testes while it goes down from the abdominal cavity into the scrotal sac, that is outside the abdominal cavity. Now I have enlarged one of the seminiferous tubule to learn about the details inside the seminiferous tubule. As you can see, the seminiferous tubule has an outermost lining which is called as basement membrane. Inside the basement membrane, you have a germinal epithelial layer, a single layer of germinal epithelium, and that single layer of germinal epithelium, each cell is also known as spermatogonia. This spermatogonia will undergo meiosis, reduction, division, right, to form first the primary spermatocyte, then it will form the secondary spermatocyte, it will form the spermatid, and finally it will give rise to the sperms, right? Now there are large cells inside the seminiferous tubules, and these are called as Sertoli cells. They are also called as nurse cells, because their work is to give nourishment to the sperms till the time the sperms are present inside the seminiferous tubules. As and how the sperms are formed, they will be taken to the rete testes. From rete testes, they will enter into the vas efferens. From vas efferens, it will enter the epididymis. From epididymis, it will enter the vas deferens and then get added with the different secretions of different glands and finally form the semen. Children, this is how the male reproductive system works. Students, let's talk about the glands of male reproductive system, and the first gland that we will talk about is the seminal vesicles. As you have learnt in the earlier diagrams that the seminal vesicles are a pair of glands present on either side of the urethra, right, joining the vas deferens, right. So this seminal vesicles are nearly two big glands which secrete an alkaline seminal fluid, and this alkaline seminal fluid consists of fructose, which gives energy to the sperms. The sperms have to swim a long way right through the urinogenital tract to the oviducts of the female, and throughout this journey they are going to require the nutrition, and that is provided by the fructose, right. The seminal fluid also contains fibrinogen. It is a substance which helps in coagulation of the semen, which puts the semen into bolus-like structure. Small balls, semi-liquid balls are formed due to the presence of fibrinogen, and which helps for pushing of the sperms or the semen into vagina more efficiently, right. Then this seminal fluid makes nearly 60% of the semen. So 60% of the semen is just the seminal fluid. Now let's talk about the second gland. They are called as prostate glands, and this prostate glands add to another 30% of the semen. So 60 and 30, it will be 90%. So what is prostate glands? It is a single large gland which is present just below the urinary bladder, and it discharges its secretion into the urethra. So it is a large and a single gland. The gland is having 20 to 30 lobes or partitions or parts into it, compartments into it, right. It is present just below the urinary bladder, and it secretes prostatic fluid. So what is the secretion called as? It is called as prostatic fluid, and this prostatic fluid consists of white, milky and slightly acidic secretion. The secretion is white, milky and slightly acidic, right. It contains citric acid, it contains acidic phosphatase, and it also contains various enzymes. This acidic phosphatase helps to neutralize the acids in the vagina, which would be responsible for killing of the sperms, right after the sperms enter the vagina. So most of them will be killed if this acid phosphatase does not come to the help. It will help the sperms to survive in the vagina. So it makes about 30% of the semen. Let's talk about the third gland. It is called as Cowper's glands. In the other words, it is also called as bulbourethral glands, and it is small pea-shaped glands which is present right below the prostate gland on the either side of the urinogenital tract. It constitutes nearly 10% of the total semen, or some 5 to 6% of the total semen, right. It is present on either sides of urethra, as I already told you. It secretes 3 different secretions, right. The secretion is alkaline, viscous and mucus-like fluid. How does the secretion look like? It is alkaline, it is viscous. Viscous means slippery, or it is a little bit sticky, and mucus-like fluid is present in that secretions. The function is it lubricates the vagina during the process of copulation, or when the penis enters the vagina gets lubricated by this particular secretion from the Cowper's gland. So together these glands constitute a large part of semen. So now what is the semen made up of? It is having secretions of ejaculatory duct, that is nothing but the sperms and the secretions of the ejaculatory duct plus the secretions of the glands. Now let us see what is semen in all. Total, what is semen? Semen is viscous alkaline, it is a milky fluid, right? The pH is 7.2 to some 7.7 pH is that. It is slightly alkaline. Nearly 2.4 ml to 4 ml semen is ejaculated at single ejaculation. When a single ejaculation of semen takes place, it might be some 2.4 ml or some 4 ml. It might contain some 400 millions of sperms in it. Correct? It contains secretions from the epididymis, that is epididymis or epididymis consists of sperms and some of the secretions of its own, and it also contains secretions of the accessory glands, that is the seminal vesicles, prostate glands and Cowper's glands. Let us talk about the functions. The functions of the semen is nourishment, that is fructose inside the semen will nourish the sperms, right? It neutralizes the acidity in the vagina. The prostaglandins helps in activation of sperms. And let me tell you one more thing, the fructose present in the semen or this seminal fluid is the only fructose found in men. It is never found in women, so its presence in the female's vagina can confirm a rape or a sexual intercourse.